Hi, Christina.
Hi.
Hi. Say hello to the creepy people.
Hi, creepy people. Is that
Yeah.
okay? Okay.
That's pretty much the greeting that they are accustomed to.
That's true. I act like I haven't heard it. I have.
Right?
I swear I have.
I know. This is PNW Haunts and Homicides. It's I can't forget the tagline. Cassie will absolutely murder me. It's PNW if you're nasty.
I hadn't heard that one.
Yeah. She gets mad whenever I don't say it now. I just said it like kind of like as a little like joke
And
one
now
time,
you have to keep saying it.
and now I have to say it forever. Yeah. That's what Cassie said. So, obviously Cassie is not here. You haven't heard her voice yet. You can't see her if you're watching us on YouTube, but we have the lovely Christina.
Yes, and you know what?
Yeah.
It's like a perfect replacement because my name also starts with C.
I know.
Yeah,
It's
so we're still like C and C. Yeah,
exactly. It keeps it, feels like it's all in the family.
yeah, yeah.
Before we get started, obviously I want to say thank you, Christina, for joining us today. If you've been listening for a while, you know that she is one of our pod besties. She took us along for the ride to the Two Girls, One Ghost show. Breathe.
Oh yeah,
Breathe.
I forgot about that.
Oh yeah. She's just
I
like,
was
I just do
I was
that
gonna say,
stuff
what do you
and
mean? You took me along to the lighthouse. I didn't.
yeah.
I was the third wheel.
Yeah.
I
No,
forgot we
we
went to the the show first.
yeah. And
Yeah.
that's where, I mean, very briefly, we met Sabrina. And then, of course, like you mentioned, we dragged you up to the Point Wilson Lighthouse so that we could do our crossover episode, which, if you haven't listened to that, we were just talking about before we hopped on that was like a really fun episode. We're lucky it got made because also I was very distracted the whole weekend and I fully thought I was just like on a fun trip because it was so
Wait, we're
much
supposed to be
fun.
doing content.
Yeah, I was like, "Oh, shoot, I guess I have responsibilities and things." So, but it felt like it was time to find something else to do together. So maybe after we record this episode, we'll get to work on planning another trip.
Oh my god.
You actually have a special connection to the place that we're going to talk about today, which I didn't fully realize until we roped you into this with us. So, because I was like, I know generally, but I was like, this specific city?
Yeah, that is
Ooh,
my hometown. My mom's
yeah.
side of the family. We're all in Guadalajara. Well, there's a like little, not a suburb, but like a colony that's called Zapopan, which is right by Guadalajara, like literally 20 minutes. So we just say Guadalajara because that's where everyone like is familiar with the bigger city. But yeah, that
Yeah.
is where I go whenever I go to Mexico. I'm actually going to be there in January. So
So actually, immediately as you're pronouncing, I don't like now I don't even want to say, I don't even want to
should
say
I just say Guadalajara every time? Like you pause and I'll say Guadalajara.
we should just have like a hand signal because I'm just like
and done.
Guadalajara. I feel like somebody's like very, very Midwestern grandma. But no, I'm just gonna put it out there. You have absolute carte blanche to correct any and all of my pronunciation throughout this because, as we know, unfortunately, there was an incident with Puyallup. That was rough.
Oh, yeah. I forget how to pronounce that all the time.
So today we have an OG member of the Patreon to thank for suggesting this topic. So thank you also to Aaron. I just had to wait for the stars to align and the dopamine to hit with this one. Established as a sister city to Portland, Oregon in 1983, Guadalajara is nestled in. Now, okay, this is the first chance you have to correct me, but since I think I've visited like one little corner of this state, I'm crossing my fingers. Jalisco?
Oh, yeah. Jalisco. Okay. I totally didn't know we were sister cities with Portland, Oregon. That's crazy. I had
Yeah,
no idea.
I know. Yeah, so that was actually why one of the Patreon members was like, "Oh, I know about this crazy case, and it's like a sister city to Portland." And that's our like workaround. It's our cheat code to go
Yeah,
international.
I love that.
Yeah.
I'm curious about this case because I can't think of one. What a oh, I'm okay, I'm excited.
And Guadalajara is actually the capital city of that state in Mexico. Fun fact, both mariachi music and tequila originate from there as well.
That is true, yeah.
So party people.
Yeah, the tapatio hot sauce, have you seen it?
Yeah.
That's like, the typical what when you say someone from Jalisco, what they look like, it's that tapatio man on the hot sauce, so
That's hilarious. I
yeah,
love that.
whenever they say you have ojos like tapatios, eyes that are tapatios, it means like huge eyes because they say people from Guadalajara and Jalisco have huge eyes.
I feel like that holds true. Like,
I do have huge eyes, so
you have really big
did
eyes.
you
I'm
see my
very
mom's
jealous.
eyes? Gigantic. But, like, in a good way, not in a bad way.
Not like in a
Not in, like, a creepy way, like, in a really beautiful way.
Yeah. Not too cartoony.
Yeah, yeah. Because some people get a little cartoony looking with, like, their giant eyes, but not my mom.
Well, good for her. I'm glad to hear
Yeah.
that. While it's not the largest or the most major city in Mexico, it is one of the most populous in all of Mexico. And actually, it ranks as, and this statistic I think is only a handful of years old. They might have moved up or down a notch, but they're ranked near the top 20 in all of the Americas. So North and South America.
Yeah, it's pretty big.
It's
I mean, it's the
big.
biggest in Jalisco, but yeah, like you said, not Mexico.
Yeah. Which is crazy to me because then what is the biggest city? So many rabbit
I
holes.
wonder, probably Mexico City.
That would have been my guess, but it's also host to the San Juan de Dios market.
Oh, man, that market is beautiful. Yeah,
It it's so beautiful.
yeah.
I grabbed a bunch of different pictures and stuff from the market because I'm like, that looks so cool. It's massive.
It's huge. Yeah, it's huge. Every floor has yeah, I mean, like, it's like part of it is outside, then you go
Mhm.
inside, and then there's like, I don't know, 3 or 4 floors, I don't remember anymore. And then you go outside and it just continues, and yeah, just so much stuff, so much food, like, it's great.
It looks like there's honestly everything there.
Yeah.
Like food and all kinds of different like clothing and like every type of good imaginable.
Yes,
So,
yeah.
but it is the largest indoor market in Latin America.
Yeah, it's huge. It's
Yeah.
huge, and yeah, if you're in Guadalajara, you have to go there.
You have to.
You must.
You heard it here first. So put a pin in the market for now. Just let that simmer.
Okay.
Fair warning, there's not really a smooth way to transition to this next part. Yeah. Just like really gonna rip the band-aid off.
Okay, I'm ready.
So though it seems fitting that we get into the story abruptly because the events we're going to discuss were anything but gradual or subtle. On April 22nd, 1992, there were a series of several explosions in the downtown district of Analco, Colonia Atlas.
Okay, I know it happened, but I know nothing about it.
There were numerous gasoline explosions in the sewer system. Fires continued burning for over 4 hours, destroying roughly 8 kilometers, or for those of us that are stateside, over 5 miles of city streets. The most badly damaged being Gante, Gante.
Gante?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, then it's probably Gante.
Gante.
Yeah.
Okay. The most badly damaged being Gante Street. Hundreds of people were injured and hundreds more were killed in the ensuing chaos. Though numerous sources speculate what exactly the tally was, my research indicates it was no fewer than 500 injured and 200 left dead. But again,
Wow.
I know. I'm like, that's insane. And a lot of the source material says that it's probably a lot higher than that.
It usually is whatever, like, number it is, like, double it.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. But again, not exactly a strict consensus per se. Some argue that it could have been upwards into the thousands, partially due to the hundreds of people that were missing in the
Mm,
immediate aftermath. So that's such a hard thing because if people are missing right away, but then they're found, maybe they were presumed dead at some point.
right.
Like, it's not a good situation.
No.
Not to mention that thousands of homes were badly damaged, leaving many stranded on the battered nightmare streets. But let's rewind just a little bit. Just days before the explosions, residents began complaining that a strong gas smell was emanating from the sewers on the streets, but also from their own residential plumbing.
Ooh.
Yeah. And it would progressively worsen in the days leading up to the explosions. The unpleasant odor left residents suffering from nausea as well as a stinging sensation in their throats and eyes in some cases. So, probably not something Poo-Pourri could take care of.
Right, right.
Smelly, but not that kind of smelly.
Yeah.
But in all seriousness, the situation in Guadalajara was pretty alarming. Residents of the city were finding gasoline coming out of their water pipes in some places. And though city workers discovered dangerously high levels of gasoline fumes in the sewers, the city was not being evacuated.
Oh my god. Okay. But, like, literal gas was coming out of, like, the sink.
Yes. Yeah, in
Mm.
some places.
Wow.
So, I'm going to talk about it a little bit more as we kind of explain like the full series of events and more
And, like,
about.
why this is happening? Because 'cause I'm like, "Okay, but, like, why?"
You're like, "But why?" But, also, like, there's an element of it too where it's like, uh, it's liquid, but also, like, gases.
Yeah, right.
And I don't know, it's a really interesting, like, aspect of the case to me because there were certain things that I was reading and I'm going, "Well, why does that matter?" And I'm like, "Oh, cause science."
Right. Mhm, not
Yeah.
historically, not my best subject.
Right?
I
I
was
know.
more like a history, English,
Yeah.
dance,
Me too.
PE.
Okay, well, you had me until you said PE, and
Oh,
then
yeah, no, that was my
yeah.
thing, yeah, I was very fit, too fit, I had a lot of energy that I had to get out. So, but no, math and science, my only
Wow.
bad grades.
The city's mayor was decidedly against the idea of evacuating. He apparently didn't believe there was any real risk of an explosion.
I mean,
Um,
when gas is coming out of sinks and there's fumes, I don't know, but I could
yeah,
see this happening. I could see them downplaying everything to not, like, because then it looks bad on you. Because then was this
of
preventable,
course.
right? And
Funny you
it
should mention that.
probably was then, okay.
Funny you should say that.
Well,
Yeah. Also, though, sir, are you aware that gasoline is highly flammable?
right,
It's
right.
not just highly preventable, but it's like it's so foreseeable.
Yeah, but for some of these people in positions of power, the reputation supersedes the safety
Yeah.
of the citizens of whatever you're supposed to be caring for, like a city, state,
Yeah.
right?
Definitely. While we're on the topic of flammability, let's take a nerd dive, shall we?
Okay, I love these sometimes, and except when
Yeah.
they involve math.
No math, I
Okay.
promise.
Okay, okay.
Yeah. Let's do it for science, and I promise I'll try to keep this part both
Dumb it
brief.
down for me.
Yes, brief and relevant and very simple.
Brief and for the dumb bitches,
Yeah.
please. Me.
Yay. I am here. Gasoline has a low flash point and high vapor density. It produces ignitable vapors that are 3 to 4 times heavier than air and can travel great distances at ground level. And this will be important to our story because It can collect in low places and cause a fire hazard. You know,
Explosion.
yeah,
Yeah.
low places like a sewer. I think you
Yes.
I think
Yes.
you can see
Okay.
where this is
Yeah.
going. Yeah.
Yeah.
But we're going to science some more. So let's talk about flammability versus combustibility. A flammable material is one that ignites easily at normal temperatures or immediately when exposed to flame, whether it's in liquid, solid, or gas form. Gasoline is considered flammable. So, pretty volatile.
Yeah.
Like, just really want to drive home the point that it's like this is dangerous.
Yes. Yes. It has been driven. I get it.
Yeah.
It sounds
You're
bad.
like, I
This is
get it.
no
I was with
bueno.
you. Yeah.
Well, we're with you now for sure. If you
Yeah.
weren't before.
Yeah. Get on the bus. Uh Combustible materials are, generally speaking, less volatile, but still require observing safety protocols, such as storing at temps below their flash points. And that's literally the end of the science for now. But
Okay.
I will be delving into some interesting aspects of civil engineering later. But now that we've got that out of the way, let's go back to April 19th, 1992. That's when it's generally agreed that Gante Street residents first reported a gasoline smell coming out of the Guadalajara city sewers, along with plumes of white smoke.
Oh no, this all sounds terrible. And like it could have been like, oh, we're noticing these things. Let's
Right.
take action.
Do we do something? Like,
No.
I'm asking for a friend.
Yes.
Yeah. You might be able to get past the smell, but I have to imagine that the smoke was pretty goddamn alarming.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
And then like combined. Mm.
Yeah, it's like this smells bad. It's making it hard for people to breathe. It's like stinging your eyes. It's like kind of a wicked combo.
Yeah. Like all no bueno. No bueno.
No. The following day, April 20th, these reports were investigated and high levels of gasoline and other hydrocarbons were discovered. Keep in mind, this discovery was prior to an announcement being made that the city would not be staging evacuations. So they had this information and they were like, nope.
Then they did nothing.
But why would they? It's not like the sewer system below was a ticking time bomb or anything, right?
It sounds perfectly fine.
That's right. And also because the mayor said so, and that's that. Nothing to see
Well,
here.
the
people.
mayor is always right.
Absolutely.
Never wrong. Yeah.
Our elected officials always have our best interests at heart.
Especially. Yeah.
By 10 a.m. on April 22nd, man covers began to bounce on the streets.
This all sounds so bad. Oh my God.
It doesn't sound like it could be real.
Right. Like it sounds out of a movie.
Yes. It's like out of, oh my gosh, there's so many that are just like these crazy, intense, apocalyptic scenes. And that's 1,000% what I'm picturing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And thick columns of white smoke came pouring out from the sewer system, similar to a pot that's been left unattended to boil over. Feels a little on the nose, but you know.
Yeah.
5 minutes later, the first two explosions were recorded, one on the corner of Calzada Independencia and Aldama Street. Just a moment later, the first emergency call was placed. The third explosion at 10:08 sent a bus belonging to the Tuts Company into the air.
Oh my God.
Launching buses.
Oh my God. Buses are always so full.
Yeah.
That's crazy. No wonder so many people. Oh my God. This is terrible.
I know. I just like, and to see the pictures, there were a couple of times where I was like, they are pictures that are really hard to look at, even though it's not particularly like gory. It's not like they're not showing anybody who's been, mortally wounded in most of them. But it's just like, you just know that's what's happened. and that like
Mhm.
there are people that are just like horrifically injured from this. I just was like, I just want to cry.
Man.
So the bus that, is just casually flying through the air, that was on the corner of Gante and Nicolas Bravo. I just honestly, the whole time I'm thinking, like, what is this? A set of Twister? Like, it's just like,
That's crazy. Just
what?
what, like, explosion after explosion after explosion that set a bus off flying, and,
Yeah,
like, the city could have been evacuated, or
I
this
just,
wouldn't have happened. Wow.
yeah. So I'd love to tell you that the third time was the charm in this case,
There's
but
more.
yeah. But I think I led with the phrase several explosions, which, as you probably
Okay, yeah.
guessed, it certainly implies more than three.
Yeah, I would say a few is 2 to 3, several is 4 to 5 or more, so
Hmm. What's the
Ugh.
word for more than five?
Oh, no. There was more than 5? Oh my god.
It's not great.
Oh, wow.
It's it's really upsetting. Like, and honestly, we'll talk about it as well, but like people, and rightly so, they were pissed.
I can only imagine, like, the aftermath of all this, and, like, knowing that, like, it could have been prevented, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, can you imagine any other major city? Like, if you have, I mean, we're talking about a 5 mile like area of
Yeah,
city that's just like,
and it's densely populated.
yes. And you can tell that in all of the pictures too. You can tell that. And I mean, that was also a big part of why I wanted to talk about the market too,
It's
because
always so packed.
it is.
I was just saying that. I was like, "It's so packed, but it's so big." Oh my
Mhm.
god, and it's right there.
Mhm.
Ugh.
Well, and then the date of this incident also coincides with a holiday.
Easter?
It was Easter.
Okay,
It was
okay.
fucking Easter.
Okay, so yeah, that would've been crowded. There's also,
Ugh.
like, a big church around there too,
Mhm.
the Cathedral of Guadalajara, so I can only imagine how crowded, not to mention the historic downtown center is always
Yes.
crowded anyway.
Mhm.
Ugh.
I just it just it you just can't even like wrap your head around like somebody basically like thinking that anything else is more important than like making sure
The
everybody.
safety of the people, like,
Yes.
come on.
Yes. Yes. I'm like, "Oh, let me guess. He probably doesn't live on Gante Street." Hmm.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
There was another explosion less than 5 minutes later on Gonzalez Gallo Avenue, and by 10:15, the factory workers on that same avenue began evacuating the area. The fifth explosion was at Gante Street and Calzada del Eje- mm, Ejercito.
Oh, yeah, Ejército.
Just before 10:30, another neighboring area was also evacuated. Within 5 minutes, the sixth explosion occurs at the intersection of De Febrero and Rio Bravo. The seventh explosion,
Every number, I'm like, "Oh my god."
yeah. The seventh explosion is at Gante Street and Silverio Garcia. Shortly after additional rescue personnel arrived to aid the victims in the affected areas, there was an eighth explosion at 11:02 at Rio Neo Avenue and Rio Grande. This explosion would initiate evacuation efforts in several more neighboring areas.
So after the 8th explosion, they finally are evacuating people. 8
Yeah.
8 explosions.
Yeah, basically I think the very very first um evacuation starts after the fifth explosion,
Right, okay.
and I believe that was because it was in a super dense
This is the factory one? The 5th one?
yes.
Yeah, okay.
Mhm. Yeah, so I think that kind of explains it because I feel like a factory setting is even more dangerous.
Yeah, yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
there's not a good place to be when this is
During an
happening.
explosion? No.
No. Not really.
Oh my
Not
god.
really. Okay, but there is an end in sight. The two final explosions occurred at 11:16. That's right. In case
2
you
at the
lost
same
track.
time.
Yeah, I mean, basically, I mean, it's possible that they were, like, maybe a minute apart, but I feel
Mm.
like with all of the chaos, it would be pretty hard to keep track,
These are 7
but
and 8 or 8 and 9? Or 9 and 10? I'm like, I
this is
lost
9
count.
and 10. I
Oh
know.
my god, 9 and 10.
Yes.
Oh my god.
Yes. 10 mother freaking explosions.
Wow.
I just like, it kind of takes your breath away a little bit. Even before the explosions concluded, people throughout the Guadalajara metro area removed manholes in an attempt to allow any residual gases to escape. Additionally, several neighboring areas were notified to be aware and cautious. So there's multiple other neighborhoods that they they hadn't had explosions specifically in those neighborhoods or districts, but they were really concerned that it was still a possibility.
Right.
So, I mean, that just makes it like an even more massive area, even more
Like, all
people
the
that
chaos from
yeah,
wondering, "Oh my god, is it gonna happen here too?"
exactly. I mean, can you imagine? I don't think I would be able to like function. Like
Oh,
forget
no.
forget falling asleep that night,
Mm-mm.
you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
Oh
and this
my
started
god.
in the morning, but
Yeah,
your
and,
whole day
what time were the last explosions?
just after 11, it was 11:16 AM.
Okay.
So I mean, you're talking about a little over an hour, 10 different explosions.
Literal hour of hell. Oh my
Yeah.
god.
Yeah. I mean, it's gonna stay pretty hellish for a minute,
Oh, yeah,
unfortunately.
after finding, like, the aftermath of everything,
Yeah.
finding the people, the mess, yeah,
Yeah.
collapsed buildings. Oh my god.
There were so many collapsed buildings. And it's so crazy though, because, again, like I haven't visited this part of Mexico specifically, but like seeing where obviously like the blast radius, like there's a defined area. Like it's not just going to blow up everything everywhere, but it's so
Right.
strange to see where there's like buildings that were completely like leveled.
Yeah,
And then like right next to it is like a building that looks like it was totally fine.
insane.
The investigation that followed the devastation revealed two contributing factors to the multiple explosions. Okay, so there's a little bit more science, but if you want to skip ahead like 30 seconds, unless you're Christina, you just have to.
No.
But it's short. I'll sum it up for you right now. So, some metals don't mix, just kind of like traditionally. And this isn't the best example because it doesn't feel equally serious, but when it comes to fashion, you might not mix certain patterns. Like you don't wear plaid and stripes, just
Right.
typically. Do you, but
But, like, don't do that.
yeah, but probably don't. But new zinc coated iron pipes were placed way too close to an existing steel gasoline pipeline, creating an electrolytic reaction similar to the interior of a zinc carbon battery. So these are the kind that we use in like TV remotes, smoke detectors, and a ton of other stuff.
Oh, like the normal AA batteries?
Basically, yeah, I mean
Okay.
they're in everything. Um I don't know. It, we interact passively with so many of the like different things that have this type of
You don't
battery
even
in
think
it.
about it.
No. And honestly, it's the fact that we're talking about what we view as such an inert or innocuous thing in that regard that like makes it even more scary.
Yeah.
Like
So, what
you don't
happens when these 2
so it's basically creating the same type of reaction that happens inside of a battery. But
and
when
that
it's not,
is not
I, listen, I told you what kind it was.
Okay, okay, well, I don't
It's like
know, no.
no, but I do have there's like it does explain like what it does.
Okay,
I'm not
okay.
going to explain the inside of a battery, but I will explain like what it did here, if that makes
Okay.
sense.
Yes, okay.
I was like, I don't know how batteries work.
And I'm like, "And what?" Oh, man.
Oh my god. The reaction corroded the steel pipe, resulting in a gasoline leak that permeated not just the ground, but also the main sewer pipe.
Oh.
Yeah. So
Okay.
that's not good.
This is the cause of it all.
Yes.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
You would think they would know this would happen. I don't know.
Right? I mean, I would think that, people who are in civil engineering,
Should know, right?
I mean,
You would think. Oh my god.
like, who approved this? Honestly, it made me look at batteries a little bit different. I was
Mhm.
like, that's what it's doing?
Right.
Are these
Wow.
safe? The second factor was the recent rebuild on the sewer piping. When the city wanted to expand its underground metro railway system, they were modified to a U shape. Usually, sewer systems are built with a slope to allow gravity to aid in moving waste through the system. For the U shape that they switched over to work, an inverted siphon was placed so that fluids could be pushed underneath by gravity. So we're kind of just using what we already have. Problem solved, right?
Mhm.
No.
No. Okay.
Well, inverted siphons require uniform fluid for proper operation. When presented with liquids of different densities, as was the case in Guadalajara's system, and honestly, I would imagine this would be true of any.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like they're not, it's not, it's not uniform liquid.
Right. It's yeah,
Yeah,
because it's the sewers
it's
system,
sewers.
so
I don't think I need to, and I'm not going to explain that further.
no, I think we get
Yeah,
it.
I think we're
Can you
good.
explain? No.
No. Only the densest would pass through the siphon. What this means is that anything of a lesser density, like air and water, would pass freely, but leave the lighter density gasoline trapped and continuing to accumulate.
Oh.
And I cannot stress this enough. This is bad. Eventually, the liquid gasoline that had accumulated would evaporate, and the sewer system filled with the explosive vapors as they progressed. Because density. I feel like Bill Nye a little bit.
Bill.
Bill Nye the Science Guy.
No, the classroom was gonna be lit when they, like, brought in the TV and put
Oh,
the tape in and it was Bill, and you're like, "Yes!
yeah. Fuck yeah.
Bill."
Science. A full 3 days later, panic was at risk of being reignited when multiple neighborhood residents were warned to avoid lighting any flames as the smell of gas became increasingly pervasive. So
Oh
this is
god.
like 4 different neighborhoods.
Oh my god.
So another massive like surface area that now all of a sudden they are like,
In danger.
yeah, could we be next?
Oh my god.
And of course, at this point, like it's 3 days later, everybody knows what's happened.
Right. Like,
So,
what's awaiting if it actually happens.
yeah. This was later confirmed to be a leak in a Pemex pipe. Keep in mind that prior to the explosions, people had been annoyed and had maybe raised some concerns, but there wasn't widespread alarm because La Nogalera was undergoing their annual spring cleaning, which is a gasoline storage facility under the state-owned monopoly Pemex. While we're on the topic of Pemex, the public believed that Pemex was to blame for the tragedy. So basically, public opinion is like,
Fuck Pemex.
yeah,
A common, what's it called? Not belief, but a feeling,
oh, yeah.
in Mexico.
Honestly, I can believe it because after researching this, I'm like, wow, like we obviously like we've experienced like in kind of a different like application, but like there have been issues with power lines or other, like we have our own issues with our
Yeah,
infrastructure and like the utilities and things like that. But I was like, damn, yeah, I think I would feel exactly the same way.
for
Like,
sure. And I mean, these were Pemex own like plumbing or whatever, right? Gas or whatever lines.
Mhm.
So yeah, of course they're gonna be blamed. But also like somebody put those pipes in.
Yeah,
Somebody should have came and checked what was going on when people were complaining. Like Pemex
right?
and the government are at fault, probably is my guess.
I mean, the worst part is that, like, city workers actually went and they inspected, and they were finding dangerous levels
And they were
of
told to dismiss it, I'm
and
assuming.
they basically and I mean, it was reported on, and, like, all of the local government was aware, but they just didn't do anything.
Man.
I mean, if sitting on your hands could be an official charge, as the theory goes, it was due in part to embezzlement of gasoline from the
There it is.
facility.
Oh my
Yeah.
god. Not
Mhm.
surprised.
I know, I was like, this is I feel
I was
like
waiting for something more corrupt. I'm like, all right, this is already bad, but like, when is the corruption gonna arrive?
yes. I know, I was like, this has to be there's gotta be, like, something that's more of a corruption angle because, like, otherwise, how did we get here?
Right, like
It
why?
just
What was the reason? What
yes.
behind it? Like,
Yeah.
yeah. And
Otherwise,
yeah.
it just doesn't feel like the math is mathing.
At the end, capitalism.
Yep, pretty much, it's like
Wow,
greed.
it was capitalism all along.
I know.
Synonymous with greed to me, yeah.
Basically. Yeah, no, 1,000%. It was
Oh
rumored
man.
that an inspection of the facility by the Attorney General's office was imminent, and the staff was fearful they could be caught with an oversupply of gasoline. Rather than face any repercussions, because obviously, who would do that?
Right. Face accountability for what I've done? No. I
I
don't
don't
think
think
so.
so.
No.
They opted to simply dump the excess down the drain.
Oh my god. And they didn't think what could happen.
What could go
No.
wrong?
Right. Dumping all this gas. Oh my god.
Just like into your sewer system. Like, what? Because I
Wow.
feel like to me, I was kind of like, okay, everything leading up to this, it makes sense how like
Like,
the
all right, we've
reaction.
got the pipes that shouldn't be
Right.
next to each other. We've got like this gas leak thing going on that's building up. But like what was the final
It's
like the final push, like the final oomph, like and that there
yeah.
it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ugh,
I wonder how all this gas got here.
right. Oh my god.
Yeah. Okay, I don't know if you've ever seen this, but it made me think of this TikTok that it's one of my favorites. It's this guy just like basically he must just presumably he's outside on a walk or something. And it just quickly develops into a jog and eventually he's like full ass sprinting and the whole time he's singing I don't want no
I have not
consequences.
seen this, but this is this. This is all of that. Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
According to a report by the Jalisco State Human Rights Commission, there was a count of 1,142 homes affected.
Oh my god.
Yeah. 450 shops, 100 schools. I
Wow.
know, schools.
It's a lot of
Insane.
schools. In a
600
5-mile
vehicles.
radius?
Yes.
Why
I,
is there sorry, why is there so many schools? I don't
I have so many follow-up questions based on the numbers and stuff. I I can't help but wonder if some of that is classified as schools, if it's like maybe like also like childcare
I was
facilities.
gonna
Like,
say that. I think some of them are,
yeah,
like, actual childcare facilities
yeah,
also, not just schools.
yeah. I feel like you know, there's so many places in the rest of the world where like I feel like it's a very like not just American maybe, but like a very Western idea of like kids don't really start school until like kindergarten. Like, I feel like elsewhere in the world, people are like, "Oh, well, like, your kid should always be learning," and, like pre-K
Right,
stuff. Like,
right.
I feel like that starts earlier
Well, because
elsewhere.
a lot of other places have universal preschool too, like,
Mhm.
like, school starts at preschool and it's not, like, a private thing, like, here you have to be, like, in the lowest of lowest income brackets to qualify for Head Start, but then after
Yeah.
that, it's like, public preschool? No.
Mm-mm. No, they're like, that kid's your problem.
Yeah.
600 vehicles.
Man.
600 vehicles. I was like, I'm gonna say that again because I don't even know if that clicked.
That's a lot. That's a lot.
Yeah. I mean, and like you said, it's 5 miles, 8 kilometers of
Yeah.
just
Also wild because like so many people use the public transportation system
Mhm.
and taxis like a
Yeah.
ton. So I'm like, I'm surprised that there's that many cars.
Yeah. Well, and
Wow.
that's another one of those things where, it says vehicles that could include like buses and taxis. I don't know.
Oh, true. Not like personal vehicles.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Okay.
feel like we tend to think of like if somebody just says a car, I think of like a personal vehicle. But
Yeah,
like
because we have no public transportation infrastructure in this country. So, but
no,
in Guadalajara, it's fantastic.
oh,
Except the buses are crazy. You
they're like
it's like
really
it's like a roller coaster getting into the bus.
really?
You got to run in because they're gonna like run you
Oh,
over.
because they're
They'll
busy.
literally hit other cars, like to. It's fun though. It's a wild ride, I will say. Yeah.
Whoa.
Hmm.
I don't know if I have the stomach for that.
They don't play, no, and I don't have the stomach to drive in Guadalajara at all. It's even crazier. So I'm like, I will take my chances with a bus or a taxi, but I'm not ever driving.
Yeah, that sounds crazy.
It's wild. Also, you'll
Yeah.
see like people on like a motorcycle, and it'll be like the dad driving, the mom in front holding a baby, and then like two kids hanging on the back. Like,
Stop it.
yeah, nobody uses car seats. So yeah,
Oh my gosh.
people still ride in the back of trucks,
I
and
feel
that's
like
now. So I can only imagine back then. Like,
yeah.
yeah,
I feel like there's certain things like riding in the back of the truck. I feel like there's a lot of places you might sometimes see that, but
but like you're not gonna see that driving down the freeway here.
no, not usually. And
Not
you're
here. Yeah,
sure as shit not going to see 5 people on like a moped or
yeah,
something.
but over there you will.
That's wild. That's wild. Um, so here's another this freaking blows my mind. Like I honestly I just wouldn't have believed this. I still can't it doesn't seem real, but the blast measured at 7 and 7.1 according to the University of Mexico's Richter scale.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's high. Oh my god.
Yes. I mean, it's not like the deadliest. We've certainly seen, I
Yeah.
think there have been a couple of earthquakes in the last couple of decades that were like a 9 on the Richter
Mhm.
scale in
Right.
parts of South America. But it doesn't need to be any higher. 7 is that's crazy.
Yeah.
So there were trenches up to 25 feet deep that had been bored into the streets.
Wow.
The colonies that suffered the most damage were the Alamos, Atlas, Olympica, and Anelco. At a government sports complex, bodies of some of the victims were laid out on a basketball court under white tarps, many of whom were older women, children, and, oh God, I'm so sorry, babies.
Oh.
That I don't even really like babies. Personally, they're not for me. But
Right, but I mean, any life loss, tragic, but like a
yeah,
newborn, a baby
that's
that's hasn't gotten to live that long, and children always hits harder for sure.
yeah. It just feels like, that's someone who cannot advocate for themselves. They can't protect themselves.
Right.
It's so
There's a
senseless.
reason they're part of the most vulnerable.
Yeah, absolutely. Total monetary damages were estimated between 300 million and 3 billion. So, pretty
Wow.
that's a really wide window.
Like 3 million's already a lot, and then 3 billion? Whoa.
Yeah. Yeah.
Man.
And that's in the fucking 90s.
Yeah.
Keep that in mind cuz with inflation now it's
Yeah. No, for sure.
just mind-blowing. But so surely for this magnitude of devastation, there must be not only an explanation, but also consequences.
Accountability, yeah,
Yeah. And you would be right.
but there wasn't.
Well, President Carlos Salinas de Gortari gave investigators 72 hours to find the cause of the blast and pledged to, quote, punish those found responsible. Big talk.
Mhm.
The governor of the state of Jalisco, Guillermo Cosio Vidori, accompanied Salinas on his tour and said his government was investigating possible negligence by 3 city officials for minimizing local residents' complaints about the gas smell emanating from the sewers. So this feels a little bit like a dog and pony show. It's kind of
Like they were
like,
the scapegoats.
well, I mean, it's like the president is visiting, and then, you've got like the governor kind of shepherding him around.
Well, they have to. This sounds like an extreme, like,
Yeah,
worse. Because when there's earthquakes, everyone comes flying in and like.
it's true. Yeah.
But now this, I mean, it's like almost to the level of like some of the most devastating earthquakes in Mexico to date.
Yeah.
Like same level of like casualties. So I'm not surprised by the governor and the president both being there. I'm
Yeah.
wondering, are those 3 the only responsible? I don't think so, because someone else dumped all that gas into the sewage system. Like, yeah, they probably did
Yeah.
ignore complaints. Well, we know they did, right? Because people
Yeah.
were calling and complaining and nothing was done. But like, they surely are not the only ones responsible for this.
Well, and I think in this case, like, truth be told, these 2 are like, they're out kind of surveying the devastation, but I don't think that they're really the ones that are responsible. Like, the president isn't responsible for like a local level emergency evacuation. I mean,
No,
I wouldn't
right.
think.
But him responding to the aftermath, I
Mhm.
could see why he's there, and it would be weird
Yeah.
if he wasn't there.
Oh, it totally would be.
Yeah.
And the only reason why I say like that it feels like a dog and pony show is because I think it's the level of like almost like machismo where it's like, oh, we're going to punish them. And it's very like, it feels very forceful, you know?
Oh, yeah, yeah, but, like, someone needs to be blamed, and, like, both I mean, Mexico and the United States, and probably a lot of places are very, like, a pro-punishment type place, like,
Mm-hmm.
send them feed them to the dogs or whatever people say, I don't know what the saying
Yeah.
is, right? So someone for of course, I of completely understand the president, like, "Find who's responsible." Well,
Yeah.
and all this is, like, being publicized at the same time, like, it's a very public, like, him saying all this too, so yeah, I could see all that too.
Yeah. I think a lot of people obviously were rightly very upset. I mean, people have lost loved ones, their homes.
Mhm.
I mean, just a devastating circumstance. So it's like, it's not surprising. Like, of course, he's gonna like try to take a strong stance. What
Yeah.
else do you
Not to
do?
mention the, like, what's it called? Projection of, like, it wasn't us, but although somebody
Mhm.
failed to
Yeah, and we're gonna
properly
find him.
inspect and yeah, like, "Oh, we're gonna find it," but it's like Spider-Man pointing at himself, like, the
Yes.
government is partly responsible
Yeah.
for this, but they're gonna make a show out of, like, finding who else was responsible because they don't wanna be the ones blamed, yeah.
April 27th, both the mayor, who would subsequently resign from office, and the secretary for urban and rural development were detained on charges related to heeding the warning signs and failing to evacuate the area.
Oh, good, because they should be responsible, yeah. Okay.
I totally agree. I feel like the secretary for urban and rural development, like that person seems like probably like one of the point people in terms
Yeah.
of like
Yeah, and I was
this
like,
is
who was embezzling the gas?
I mean that's Pemex people
Right,
presumably,
'cause
but
were they arrested?
well, it's funny you should say.
Oh, well, okay.
Yeah. Additionally, there were 4 executives reportedly arrested, some with SIAPA. Essentially, that's the local municipal water lords of yore. Just in case you aren't familiar with like international utilities.
Why would you be? Yeah.
And then there were also some from Pemex that were
Okay,
arrested. So,
okay, good.
yeah.
I was about to say, if no one is arrested for this, oh, no.
I know. Can you imagine?
I mean, I couldn't picture it being like, I felt like it could go either way, like, either people were arrested or people were not, like
Then 3 days later, the governor of Jalisco took a leave of absence. leaving Guadalajara for Spain. He never returned to his role following the tragedy.
Wow. Okay.
He's like,
Okay.
I quit, but
He
first I'm going
left.
on vacation.
Wow. And never returned?
Mhm.
He stayed in Spain?
He may have since returned to Mexico, but he
Okay, but he didn't go back to Jalisco or
No, and he
Guadalajara.
never came back to his post, like, as a government
Wow.
official.
Yeah. Okay. Oh my God.
Pretty wild.
Wow.
Oh, and remember how I said you would be right about there being both explanations and consequences for the tragedy? I did say that it's not that I lied per se, but you may not feel very satisfied with the end result on honestly either front, to be honest. The Mexican government has refused to admit fault on their part.
Okay. Okay. Not surprised.
Yeah.
It is the Mexican government after all. Like, it is a government after all.
I was going to say, I was like, I mean, I would.
Well,
I would say
having covered so many stories in Mexico, like the Mexican government itself, but then you add in like it's just any government, like okay,
It really is.
Of course, they're not going to take accountability.
Yeah, I feel like there are certain things that hold true of almost every government throughout the world, and there are certain things where you're like, well, but we put our own spin on it, like
right,
like,
yeah.
What's more, their 43,000-page report following the explosions refused to place blame on any of the executives or government officials that were initially.
Who got paid? Who got the coin to lie on this long ass report?
Yep.
Sadly, not surprised.
I know. I was like, oh God, she's just gonna like flip her lid.
No, I expected this. Actually, this sounds about right. I'm surprised anyone was like arrested at all.
I kind of was too. I think that was, and maybe like in the back of my mind, that's sort of where I get like the Doc and Pony show thing, because it's like,
right.
It's like they literally did that for show.
Oh yeah,
I feel so, which I thought at minimum it was super douchey, but realistically a major abuse of power. Like
100%.
Yeah. I feel like we were just talking about like, every government has their thing. And I feel like on the flip side, one thing that I really hate about the United States government that is super douchey and an abuse of power is they won't tell us who really killed Kennedy.
Right.
They're basically the same thing, except casually multiplied by hundreds, if not thousands of times. One of these things is a little bit more serious, I think. I really want to know who killed Kennedy, but like he's just one dude.
Do you listen to TrueAnon?
It sounds really familiar.
Yeah, they're a little silly, but also like you should listen to their Kennedy series. It's good. Yeah.
Pemex would make a corporate donation equivalent to $2 million USD.
They should have given more money.
Yeah, that's not a lot.
They should have paid all the damages and more.
Well, and here's the thing. So like that $2 million was to be split between the family members who lost loved ones that day or those that were injured. So, I mean, we're talking about hundreds, if not thousands of people.
Yeah. And when you start adding the people, that's not enough money.
No.
Not to mention people need to like rebuild their homes.
Right.
No.
Christina, I'm going to be honest with you. Like, I don't have $1 million now, and I don't expect to anytime soon. But I will say this. If the two of us were involved in an explosion, I would certainly hope that our settlement would be more than $2 million.
Right.
Like, that's not enough.
No. For the number of people affected, no.
No. And they did that basically to try to like get a little bit of like goodwill back.
Yeah, like for good publicity.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Honestly, it sounds like broadly speaking, the public really saw through that.
Oh, of course. And it's
like
Pemex. Like people already hate Pemex.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, like I said, it's like I can only imagine they did this because of the immense backlash from the company because
they
everyone
have to do something.
Yes,
yeah.
Exactly. But get this. Pemex, one of the driving forces behind this, was the fact that they were still reeling from a 1984 Mexico City propane explosion that
Oh
killed.
God.
This is not their first rodeo with explosions.
Wow.
The explosion that killed 450 people. And that one, they were found responsible for. So they already had like their feet to the fire.
Yeah. Oh my God. I'm not
I
surprised.
know. I was just like, wow, that makes a lot of sense. Like,
Yeah. Like, of course this happened already somewhere else.
yeah. And it sounds like there were, I mean, it's not maybe something that like, it doesn't get reporting on like an explosion would, but it was very common to have very frequent like gas leaks and things like
Right.
that. So it's like people were aware that there were issues.
Mm-hmm.
So this last part that I'll leave you with was at first confusing, especially as I came across considerable discussion about how not evacuating had increased civilian casualties. Following the deadly events of April 22nd, just over a week later, protesters gathered outside the governor's palace in Guadalajara as another gas leak threatened the homes and the very lives of many more. After residents of the Alamo district south of Reforma said they smelled fumes, Guadalajara mayor ordered the evacuation of several square blocks. The area is surrounded by about 40 factories,
That's a lot.
including a plant operated by Petróleos Mexicanos, known as Pemex.
Yeah.
There was a couple of times in the story where I mentioned that they, refused to evacuate. Basically, it was, from the time of, I think, the fifth explosion, where all of a sudden the tune is changing. And ironically, the reason why is that they finally got close to those big government and corporate interests.
That's when it mattered. Yeah. 5 explosions in when it affected them.
Yeah. It took me a while to work that out because so much of what I was reading was just like, they didn't evacuate. And then I started seeing stuff about like, well, wait, what's this about in the factory district after the fifth explosion? And I'm like, oh, these dirty birdies, these motherfuckers.
Yeah.
So that is the Guadalajara explosions.
I love a good corruption story on a Tuesday afternoon. So thank
I
you.
know.
Yeah.
Do you want to stick around for tarot? Do you want to do the tarot reading with me?
Sure.
Okay. I've got them spread out. Let's see. I don't know. I'm kind of a middle of the deck girly when I like spread them out like this. Any thoughts, intuition?
I have no intuition. No.
There. I guess there it is. Oh,
What is that?
the Knight of Swords.
Oh, what does it mean?
I don't know. I gotta look. Okay. All right. Our keywords for the Knight of Swords are daring, chivalry, forthrightness, impatience, single-mindedness, and insensitivity.
Am I those things? No. Is that me?
No. No, we always try to see if there's like any parallels at all to like the case itself. Sometimes we do make it about us.
Okay, about the case. That makes more
Yeah.
sense. Yeah. Okay.
I mean, there's no hard and fast rules around here. You've hung out with us enough.
Yes, yes.
Knights often symbolize messages or travel. Some decks, including the Rider-Waite-Smith Tarot, show this knight rushing hell-bent toward an adversary or adventure. If he represents a person he may be someone who's overly aggressive or argumentative who lives in attack mode. Or
Hmm.
he might be a spiritual warrior, one who uses his intellect to examine and purify himself. The upright knight may suggest you're passionate about your ideas and believe wholeheartedly in the rightness of your objective. If this card represents an actual person, he's probably a young man who expresses his ideas enthusiastically and may have trouble understanding other viewpoints. He has a quick mind and keen intellect, but may lack true wisdom. Sometimes this night symbolizes an urgent message or an unexpected trip,
Oh,
like to Spain,
like the guy who left to Spain in a
right?
rush. Yep. And never returned to his job.
I feel like this. I mean, I'm sure there's more parallels that you could draw, but I feel like I'm like, that's all I needed here.
Listen, that's what I needed.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my God. Okay. In a reading about money, you may need to act quickly in a financial matter, but don't neglect to study the situation before making a decision. Too late.
Yeah.
I The upright knight may point to a trip for financial reasons or a message about money. Sometimes he heralds a change in your resources. If the reading is about your job, this card can represent a business trip. Sometimes it means a job change or a shift in work related responsibilities.
Okay, like abandoning your work-related responsibilities. Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, wow.
The knight may also caution you to hold your tongue and bide your time. Diplomacy is important now. Well,
Okay, okay.
oh my goodness. Well, I don't know that I feel like the love connection bullet point makes a lot of sense for this case, but I feel like the rest of that felt like
Some of us for
yeah.
sure applicable.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the whole thing with like the tarot reading anyway is just that it's like, what do we see? It's like kind of
Right.
it's almost like, paint by numbers, like, what parallels we can draw and some of them are creepy. Some of them are creepy, like, the things that it'll say, and it has,
Yeah.
like I'm like, "Oh, boy." Like, "Alright, well, I know we keep saying it, and then we act surprised every time, but, I guess we're witches."
Right, right.
Yay, this was so much fun.
Yes, thanks for
My
having me and telling me
goodness.
about this terrible disaster.
I know, I'm like, "Oh, man, I didn't really think about it," but in hindsight, I'm like, "Sorry, this
Next
is
time,
like
tell
a."
me something happier.
I
Mhm.
know.
I'm
It's
just
like a
kidding.
horrible thing that happened in a place that you love, but
Honestly, I
oh,
love talking about horrible things that happen in places I love.
I mean, clearly me too. But when I saw that you had, like, multiple episodes about, like, Guadalajara, like, hauntings and things, I was like, "She can handle it.
I can,
She can
and I
handle
did.
it."
Well, if you like haunted places, myths, legends, true crime, then check out Spooky Tales. I host it with my twin. We talk about all those things, but with a focus on Latin America. So it's a lot of stuff that maybe you haven't heard about if you're only listening to things in English that happened in, I don't know, the United States. So yeah, that's a lot of fun. And then my other podcast is called Historias Unknown. That's history in Spanish. So Historias and then Unknown. It's in English though, the podcast. Just the name is
Yeah.
half in Spanish, yeah. And we talk about Latin American history or history to Latinos, Latinas in the US. And it's like things like, oh my God, why didn't I learn that in school? So if that sounds like something interesting to you, then yeah, check that one out. I also co-host it with my twin.
I love it.
And what else? If you like more serious, not people telling each other a story, I do produce and write episodes for Horror Story. Um,
You do? Okay, so
yeah.
I knew you were holding out on me because I
Oh, it's
felt
because I
like
I do work for Scary FM for Edwin. You know
yeah,
Edwin.
of
Yeah.
course.
So and then True Scary Story, I edit like story edit on that one. So that's other work that I do.
I haven't listened to the new show yet, so I have to do that. I love history.
Oh yeah. It's I mean it's a lot of depressing stories and like I don't know, some people like to hear a very one-sided
History can be
version
that
of
way.
history where they'll
Mhm.
like, "Oh, this is very biased and you're wrong." And it's like, "I'm sorry. I'm telling something that happened and if you don't like what happened doesn't mean that it's biased." You know? And it's a
Yeah.
lot of like, "Oh my God, I can't believe the United States did this." So yeah, it can come off as like, oh, this is like, you just hate America. First of all, yes,
Well, I
but
mean, yeah, we kind of suck.
yeah.
Like
Yeah.
internationally, we've had some pretty bad behavior. I
Not a
feel,
good look.
yeah,
Yeah. But
I
yeah,
feel
it's
like
like
that's fair.
the Salvadoran Civil War, the Guatemalan Civil War, the international adoption in Chile and Guatemala, which has both been super corrupt. So episodes like
Mhm.
that. The bath riots that happened in El Paso in 1917. So yeah, just things that you're like, wow, why didn't I learn about this?
Thank you so much for coming on with us
Thanks for
and
inviting
doing the
me.
story with me. Have a
Have a
creepy
creepy
ass
ass
day.
day. Oh, I think that was pretty good. Sounded good to me. I don't know.
It did. It did. As soon as we finished it, you started glitching out and you had robot voice.
Oh no.
That was so funny.